Your words are the bridge between your inner world and the world around you. They are not just sounds, they are reflections of yourself, respect, your confidence, and the energy you carry. When you speak without awareness, without intention, you give away pieces of yourself, pieces of value that cannot be reclaimed. Every word you speak communicates something about who you are. It communicates whether you are grounded in your worth or whether you are living in the shadow of others' opinions. A high-value woman understands this intimately. She knows that her words are powerful tools, capable of creating attraction, inspiring respect, and commanding presence. She never underestimates the subtle energy that flows through her voice or the influence her speech carries. Many women make the mistake of equating talking more with being understood. They believe that constant explanations, repeated clarifications, or desperate attempts to justify their feelings or decisions will make others see their value. In reality, over-talking dilutes value. When you over-explain, you are unconsciously admitting that your worth depends on someone else's recognition. Your value does not need validation from others. Every time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause and ask, is this truly necessary, or am I giving away energy that belongs to me? Speaking without neediness, without apology, without seeking approval, is the language of self-respect. The high-value woman chooses her words like she chooses her battles, deliberately, consciously, and strategically. She does not waste her energy on conversations that lower her energy or on people who do not see her worth. Every word she speaks is like a brushstroke on a canvas, painting a picture of calm confidence, self-possession, and emotional intelligence. She does not demand attention, she commands it. Her speech carries weight because it is rooted in clarity and authenticity. She understands that the fewer words she needs to communicate, the more impact each word carries. Confidence is embedded in the tone and pacing of speech. It is not in the volume, the repetition, or the urgency, but in the calmness, the thoughtfulness, and the precision. The high-value woman speaks with deliberate pauses, allowing her words to resonate. She does not rush to fill silence because she knows silence itself is powerful. Silence gives her space to think, to breathe, to center herself, and it gives the listener space to reflect, to wonder, and to pay attention. When you learn to master the pauses between words, your speech becomes magnetic. People lean in to hear you, not because you shouted, but because every word is chosen and every moment of silence is respected. Self-awareness is the foundation of speaking with value. A woman who understands her worth does not speak from insecurity. She does not apologize for having opinions, for setting boundaries, or for expecting respect. Words born from insecurity often carry hesitation, uncertainty, or defensiveness, which immediately lowers perceived value. On the other hand, words rooted in self-respect carry an invisible aura of power. They communicate that you are a person who knows herself, who understands her desires, and who will not settle for less than she deserves. People are instinctively drawn to this energy because it signals strength, stability, and emotional maturity. It is also crucial to recognize the energy behind the words. Words are not neutral, they carry emotion, intention, and vibration. When you speak angrily, fearfully, or desperately, your words transmit those feelings and influence the way others perceive you. Conversely, when you speak from calmness, clarity, and confidence, your words elevate the conversation, the environment, and even the people around you. A high-value woman never underestimates the subtle, energetic impact of her speech. She knows that what she says matters, but how she says it matters even more. Choice of words is equally important. Words that are grounded in self-respect, curiosity, and assertiveness are the tools of influence. The high-value woman uses language that invites connection, yet maintains her boundaries. She knows how to say no without guilt, how to express her needs without demand, and how to inspire desire without manipulation. Her speech is never desperate, it is never forceful. It is magnetic because it reflects an internal alignment with her value. She does not lower herself to convince someone of her worth. She communicates it naturally, effortlessly, through the rhythm, tone, and content of her words. Listening is a secret weapon in the art of high-value communication. When a woman listens more than she speaks, she not only gathers information but also projects a quiet confidence that she does not need to dominate the conversation to be recognized. Listening allows her words, when spoken, to land with precision and impact. She never interrupts out of anxiety or the need to fill silence. She speaks when it matters, and when she does, Her words carry weight because they are intentional, measured, and impactful. Every interaction is an opportunity to assert your value through language. Compliments, requests, disagreements, and casual conversations all offer moments to demonstrate self-respect. When you speak with integrity, authenticity, and confidence, people sense it even subconsciously. Your words become a reflection of the energy you hold within yourself. The high-value woman understands this and never takes her speech lightly. She knows that value is maintained not just through appearance, actions, or achievements, but through the very way she communicates her presence to the world. Silence is one of the most powerful tools a high-value woman possesses, yet it is often overlooked, underestimated, or misunderstood. In a world where constant talking, explaining, and justifying has become the norm, silence becomes a rare form of strength. It communicates more than words ever could. It conveys self-possession, emotional control, and clarity of mind. Over-explaining, on the other hand, often comes from a place of insecurity, neediness, or fear of judgment. Every time you feel the urge to over-explain, it is a signal that you may be giving away energy that belongs solely to you. A high-value woman knows that speaking too much, offering unnecessary details, or attempting to justify herself diminishes her value. Silence practiced wisely elevates it. The high-value woman understands that words are not meant to fill the air. They are meant to create impact. She does not rush to explain her every thought, decision, or action because she knows that explanation is rarely required when self-respect is present. Over-explaining often signals a lack of confidence, as if one's worth depends on the approval of others. A person who constantly justifies themselves unconsciously says, "I need you to validate me, I need you to understand me." Silence, however, communicates the opposite. It communicates that your value is intrinsic, unshakable, and does not require external validation. When you learn to embrace silence, you learn to hold space for yourself, for your thoughts, and for the energy that surrounds you. Silence also allows people to reflect on your words and your presence. In conversations, there is often a temptation to rush to fill every pause, every moment of hesitation, with explanations, stories, or clarifications. But when a high-value woman uses silence strategically, she creates an invisible magnetism. People pay attention not because she is louder, but because she is intentional. They notice the weight of her presence, the calmness of her demeanor, and the confidence that allows her to speak only when necessary. Every word, when spoken after a pause, carries more power, more influence, and more impact than a flurry of words ever could. Over-explaining is often rooted in fear, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of rejection, or the fear of appearing weak. Yet the high-value woman recognizes that clarity, respect, and influence do not come from explaining excessively. They come from alignment. When you are aligned with your values, your boundaries, and your purpose, there is no need to over-explain. Your energy communicates what your words cannot, and your presence conveys what speech alone might fail to deliver. Silence in this way is not absence, it is presence. It is strength, not weakness. It allows the listener to absorb, to interpret, and to recognize the unspoken power you carry within yourself. Another important aspect of silence is that it protects your energy. Every unnecessary explanation or justification is an energetic drain. It exposes your insecurities and gives away control. The high-value woman chooses carefully when she speaks and what she reveals. She understands that words have energy, and once spoken, they cannot be taken back. Silence becomes a shield, allowing her to maintain emotional and energetic boundaries while still participating in conversations, relationships, and interactions with grace. By speaking less and choosing words wisely, she cultivates respect, intrigue, and authority without the need for constant verbal affirmation. Silence also cultivates emotional intelligence. When you stop over-explaining, you give yourself space to observe, to understand the dynamics of the interaction, and to respond thoughtfully. Emotional intelligence is reflected not in the quantity of your words, but in the quality, timing, and intention behind them. By listening, pausing, and reflecting, a high-value woman navigates conversations with subtlety and mastery. She does not react impulsively to criticism, confrontation, or questions. She responds when it matters, and her response carries clarity and authority. Over-explaining often clouds the message, dilutes authority, and gives away emotional control. Silence, on the other hand, strengthens it. Furthermore, silence is a tool of intrigue and attraction. In relationships, when a woman stops trying to explain everything, she allows space for curiosity, admiration, and emotional investment. People are naturally drawn to mystery and subtlety because it challenges them to engage, to think, and to invest emotionally. A high-value woman understands that attraction is often intensified by what is left unsaid, by the pauses, and by the unspoken confidence she radiates. Her silence is not emptiness, it is a strategic tool that communicates value, strength, and self-respect without a single word being wasted. It is essential to recognize that silence is not avoidance or withdrawal. It is intentional, deliberate, and conscious. It is used not to hide, but to enhance presence, influence, and respect. When used wisely, silence communicates boundaries without confrontation, authority without arrogance, and depth without overexposure. It allows the high-value woman to navigate conversations, interactions, and relationships from a place of power rather than neediness. Over-explaining, conversely, comes from reaction, desperation, or lack of self-trust. Silence, in contrast, is rooted in faith in one's own worth, trust in one's instincts, and clarity in one's purpose. Confidence is not something that can be seen in flashy gestures, rushed speech, or attempts to dominate a conversation. True confidence is subtle, steady, and unmistakable, and it is most clearly conveyed through tone and timing. The high-value woman understands this on a profound level. She knows that the way she speaks, the rhythm she uses, the pauses she allows, and the energy she projects carry more weight than the words themselves. People may forget what you say, but they will always remember how your presence, tone, and timing made them feel. Confidence is an energy, and it is communicated effortlessly when you master these subtle but powerful tools. Tone is the voice of your inner state. It reflects calmness, security, and composure. When a woman speaks with a tone that is steady, measured, and warm, it signals that she is grounded and in control of her energy. There is no need to rush, to insist, or to justify. Every word, delivered with intention and clarity, carries weight and authority. Conversely, when the tone is rushed, shaky, or pleading, it immediately communicates insecurity and lack of self-assurance. People instinctively respond to tone before they even process words. A high-value woman knows that tone is not just a vocal quality but a reflection of inner alignment. When she speaks from a centered, composed place, her confidence resonates and is felt by everyone around her, even without explicit statements of authority or value. Timing, like tone, is equally essential. It is not only about what you say, but when you say it. The high-value woman does not feel compelled to fill every silence, answer every question immediately, or react instantly to comments or criticism. She understands the power of pause, the pause before a response, the pause after making a point, the pause to observe and reflect. Timing gives her words weight. It allows the listener to absorb, to anticipate, and to fully grasp the meaning behind her statements. Words spoken too quickly or too often can dilute impact, while words spoken with careful timing convey intelligence, composure, and subtle authority. The combination of tone and timing also creates magnetism. Confidence is magnetic because it signals stability, self-possession, and emotional maturity. When a high-value woman speaks with calm authority, taking her time to articulate thoughts, her energy draws attention naturally. People are drawn to her not because she dominates the conversation, but because she exudes certainty, clarity, and self-assurance. Every pause, every carefully chosen inflection, communicates an invisible message. I am grounded in my worth and my energy is deliberate. This magnetism cannot be manufactured through force or volume. It comes only from mastery of tone, timing, and self-awareness. Confidence through tone and timing is particularly critical in high-stakes conversations, whether in relationships, work, or social interactions. When challenges, disagreements, or unexpected situations arise, the instinct of the insecure person is to react immediately, to speak louder, or to justify themselves excessively. A high-value woman does the opposite. She allows herself a moment to assess, to feel, and to align her response with her values. Her tone remains calm, her words deliberate, and her timing intentional. She does not react out of emotion or neediness. Instead, she responds from strength, composure, and clarity. This measured approach communicates more authority than any argument, lecture, or defense ever could. Another subtle aspect of tone and timing is the ability to convey emotions without losing power. The high-value woman does not over-dramatize, raise her voice unnecessarily, or fill conversation with excessive detail. Yet she can communicate warmth, humor, intrigue, curiosity, or firmness through subtle shifts in tone and rhythm. The quality of her voice becomes a tool for connection, influence, and attraction. She can be playful without appearing desperate, firm without appearing harsh, and vulnerable without losing authority. This mastery comes from practice, self-awareness, and understanding that confidence is a state of being, not an act. Moreover, tone and timing are directly linked to presence. Presence is the energy that others feel when you are fully aligned with yourself. When a woman speaks with controlled tone and intentional timing, her presence expands and the room responds to her energy. People instinctively listen, observe, and respect her space. The high-value woman knows that presence cannot be faked. It is cultivated through self-respect, internal confidence, and conscious communication. Every pause, every inflection, every rhythm in speech communicates not only what she is saying, but also who she is as a person, steady, grounded, and confident. It is also important to note that tone and timing are learned through observation and self-reflection. A woman must become aware of her vocal patterns, her pace, and her impulse to speak out of anxiety, excitement, or need for validation. She must consciously slow down, breathe, and align her speech with her internal state. Mastering tone and timing is not about controlling others, it is about controlling oneself. It is about understanding that confidence is communicated through energy, not words alone, and that subtlety often carries more power than force. When mastered, this skill transforms ordinary conversations into moments of influence, respect, and connection. Boundaries are not walls, they are the framework that defines who you are, what you value, and how you allow the world to interact with your energy. They are the invisible lines that separate your integrity from compromise, your self-respect from accommodation, and your worth from depletion. A high-value woman understands that boundaries are not optional. They are essential. They are not something she negotiates lightly, nor are they a reflection of rigidity or selfishness. They are a declaration: I respect myself and I will not accept less than I deserve. Boundaries communicate power, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence in a way that words alone cannot. Many women struggle with boundaries because they fear conflict, rejection, or disapproval. They overextend themselves, over-accommodate, or over-explain, thinking that kindness requires sacrificing their needs or bending to the will of others. In reality, boundaries are not about restricting others. They are about protecting your energy and asserting your value. A high-value woman does not apologize for her boundaries because she knows that every time she compromises them, she loses a part of herself. Over time, this erosion of self-respect manifests in her energy, her speech, her presence, and her relationships. Boundaries are the blueprint of a life lived with intention, and without them, her words, actions, and energy can be misinterpreted, exploited, or diminished. Setting boundaries begins with clarity about your values, your priorities, and your non-negotiables. A high-value woman knows what she will accept and what she will not. She identifies behaviors, attitudes, and actions that drain her energy or compromise her integrity, and she establishes firm limits around them. Boundaries are not flexible negotiations in order to please someone else. They are reflections of self-respect. When a woman communicates her boundaries calmly and assertively, she immediately signals her value. She does not threaten, she does not demand, she simply declares what is and is not acceptable in her life. This communicates confidence and self-possession, qualities that draw respect and admiration naturally. Boundaries also serve as a protective measure against emotional manipulation and energy depletion. Many relationships, personal or professional, involve subtle attempts to test limits, guilt, or pressure for compliance. A high-value woman recognizes these dynamics and does not react out of fear or guilt. She responds with calm firmness. She does not over-explain, over-apologize, or compromise her standards to keep someone comfortable. She understands that when her boundaries are tested, the strength of her response communicates far more than words ever could. Maintaining boundaries requires discipline and courage because it often involves discomfort, confrontation, or social pressure, but it is always aligned with long-term self-respect and inner power. Furthermore, boundaries are not only about saying no, they are about saying yes to yourself. Every boundary enforced is a step toward preserving energy, protecting emotional health, and prioritizing personal growth. By honoring your boundaries, you create space for authentic connections, meaningful relationships, and interactions that elevate you rather than drain you. A high-value woman does not compromise her peace to accommodate the chaos, insecurities, or selfishness of others. Her boundaries serve as a filter, allowing only those who respect, honor, and value her energy to remain close. This discernment is a hallmark of high value because it communicates that she knows her worth and refuses to settle for less. Communicating boundaries is an art of tone, timing, and clarity. A high-value woman does not scream, lecture, or plead when asserting limits. She speaks calmly, confidently, and without apology. Her tone reflects self-possession, and her timing ensures that the boundary is clear before energy is wasted on unnecessary explanations. There is no negotiation when it comes to her non-negotiables. She knows that compromise on core values is a compromise on herself. The subtlety and firmness with which she communicates boundaries command respect, prevent misunderstandings, and set the stage for interactions based on mutual respect rather than manipulation or assumption. Boundaries also enhance attraction and influence. Many people are drawn to women who carry themselves with self-respect because boundaries communicate strength and stability. They are magnetic precisely because they are rare. Many settle for being liked, accepted, or approved at the expense of their own energy. The high-value woman demonstrates that she is not available for exploitation, emotional games, or disrespect. Her boundaries convey that she is discerning, emotionally intelligent, and committed to honoring her own worth. This energy inspires admiration, loyalty, and deeper emotional investment from those who truly value her presence. Maintaining boundaries requires ongoing self-awareness and courage. Life constantly tests the lines we draw, whether through people, situations, or even our own desires to please or avoid discomfort. A high-value woman continually reassesses her boundaries, reinforces them when challenged, and adjusts them when necessary to align with growth and self-respect. Boundaries are not static, they are living expressions of her evolving sense of value, clarity, and inner strength. She knows that every compromise, every waver, every silent concession chips away at the energy that fuels her confidence, her presence, and her influence. Playfulness is one of the most underrated qualities of a high-value woman, yet it is one of the most magnetic and disarming forces she possesses. Many women misunderstand playfulness as frivolity, weakness, or a lack of seriousness. In truth, it is a subtle form of strength, a sophisticated energy that allows her to connect deeply, inspire curiosity, and maintain influence without ever lowering her value. Playfulness, when wielded consciously, becomes a language of charm, intrigue, and confidence. It allows a woman to navigate social and emotional dynamics with grace while preserving her power and self-respect. A high-value woman knows that playfulness is not about bending to others' expectations, pleasing everyone, or performing to be liked. It is about creating space for lightness, curiosity, and connection without compromising the integrity of her energy. Playfulness communicates emotional intelligence because it shows that she is comfortable in her own skin, secure in her worth, and aware of the impact her energy has on others. It draws people in, not through desperation or overcompensation, but through subtle engagement and intrigue. This energy is irresistible because it signals depth beneath the surface, a woman who can be joyful, teasing, and spontaneous while remaining grounded and aligned with her values. Playfulness is most effective when it is balanced with self-possession. The high-value woman never uses humor, flirtation, or charm as a mask for neediness or insecurity. She does not try to win approval through laughter or attention. Instead, she engages with wit, light teasing, and warmth in a way that elevates the interaction without diminishing her own presence. When she smiles with intention, laughs softly, or teases gently, it creates an invisible rhythm that others instinctively follow. Her energy is inviting, yet she remains untouchable in terms of desperation or emotional surrender. Playfulness becomes a strategic tool to deepen connection, spark curiosity, and maintain influence simultaneously. One of the core principles of playfulness is the art of teasing without manipulation. A high-value woman understands that attraction and connection are enhanced when there is a balance of challenge and approachability. She can be flirtatious, humorous, or subtly provocative without appearing needy or overbearing. She understands that people are drawn to energy, not words alone, and that emotional engagement grows when there is space for mystery, intrigue, and light-hearted interaction. By being playful, she communicates confidence, security, and emotional stability, showing that she is comfortable navigating social dynamics without relying on others' validation. Playfulness also fosters emotional connection in ways that seriousness alone cannot. When she engages in light-hearted banter, playful challenges, or shared laughter, she opens a channel for emotional intimacy without overexposure. Seriousness can be heavy, demanding, and exhausting, but playfulness invites interaction, curiosity, and engagement. A high-value woman knows that emotional bonds are strengthened when energy flows freely, when interaction feels effortless, and when connection is built on subtlety and mutual intrigue rather than constant need or intensity. Playfulness allows her to maintain a sense of control while inviting others to invest emotionally in the relationship. Equally important is the ability to use playfulness to diffuse tension and maintain authority. Life and relationships often present challenging moments, conflict, disagreement, or emotional volatility. The high-value woman does not react impulsively or aggressively. She employs subtle playfulness to lighten the energy without losing her position or authority. A smile, a teasing remark, or a calm, humorous observation can shift the tone of an interaction, demonstrating emotional intelligence, resilience, and confidence. She knows that maintaining composure and using light energy strategically communicates far more power than forced argument or over-explanation. Playfulness also cultivates curiosity and attraction. People are instinctively drawn to women who are unpredictable in a light-hearted way because it creates mental and emotional engagement. The high-value woman does not give everything away at once. She uses playfulness to create subtle tension, intrigue, and investment. She laughs, she teases, she engages without desperation, signaling that her attention is earned and her energy is rare. This subtle push and pull dynamic is a cornerstone of attraction and influence, allowing her to connect deeply while preserving her autonomy, boundaries, and self-respect. Moreover, playfulness reflects a deep sense of self-trust and inner alignment. A woman who is grounded in her worth does not feel the need to control every interaction or manipulate outcomes. Instead, she engages with lightness, curiosity, and authenticity. She trusts her instincts, communicates through energy, and lets connection unfold naturally. Her playful energy signals emotional stability, resilience, and security, creating a safe and intriguing space for others to engage. Playfulness, in this context, is not chaos, it is a conscious choice to express confidence, joy, and influence without sacrificing dignity or value. Finally, playfulness is a form of energy management. By approaching interactions with lightness, subtle humor, and intrigue, a high-value woman protects her energy while engaging meaningfully. She does not waste herself on over-seriousness, drama, or constant justification. Instead, she channels her presence into moments of delight, curiosity, and engagement, creating a lasting impression while maintaining emotional equilibrium. Her playfulness becomes both a shield and a bridge, a way to connect deeply while preserving autonomy, self-respect, and the magnetic energy that defines her value. Words are not merely a tool for communication, they are the vessel through which energy, intention, and emotion flow. Every word carries weight, even if it seems small or casual. They have the power to draw people closer, ignite desire, foster trust, and deepen emotional intimacy. Conversely, words can push people away, create misunderstanding, and lower your perceived value. A high-value woman understands that the language she chooses is a reflection of her inner state, her self-respect, and the energy she brings to every interaction. She knows that her words are not neutral, they are expressions of alignment with her worth, her presence, and her power, and every word she utters can either strengthen or diminish the emotional bond she is creating. Many women underestimate the impact of their words because they speak impulsively, reactively, or from a place of insecurity. When words are driven by fear, neediness, or the desire for approval, they carry a subtle energy that others unconsciously sense. Over-explaining, apologizing excessively, or using words to justify your emotions often communicates a lack of self-assurance. It signals that your value is contingent upon someone else's understanding or validation. On the other hand, words that are intentional, measured, and aligned with your self-respect transmit power, stability, and confidence. They invite connection while maintaining boundaries, creating a magnetic presence that others instinctively recognize and respect. The choice of words is essential, but so is the way they are delivered. Tone, timing, and intention amplify or diminish their impact. A simple phrase can inspire trust, admiration, or attraction when spoken with calm confidence, yet the same words can repel or confuse when delivered with hesitation, defensive,ness or emotional volatility. A high-value woman pays attention not only to what she says, but also to how she says it. She understands that emotional resonance is created as much by energy and presence as by content. When her words are synchronized with calm authority and intentional timing, they have the power to form emotional bonds that feel effortless, natural, and compelling. Another key aspect of using words to trigger connection is empathy. A high-value woman communicates with awareness of the listener's feelings, perspectives, and needs without sacrificing her own boundaries. She chooses language that conveys understanding, emotional intelligence, and subtle encouragement, creating a sense of safety and openness in others. Empathy in communication fosters trust and vulnerability, allowing others to lower their defenses and engage authentically. Yet she is careful not to overextend or over-accommodate. Empathy is a bridge, not a surrender, and it is most effective when grounded in self, respect, and alignment. Silence and restraint amplify the emotional power of words. High-value women understand that saying less often communicates more. Selective speech allows each word to carry weight, emotional depth, and clarity. When she speaks with intentionality, people are more likely to listen, reflect, and remember. Conversely, excessive talking, emotional over-sharing, or reactive speech can dilute emotional impact and create disconnection. Words without discernment may overwhelm, confuse, or repel the listener, no matter how well-intentioned they are. Emotional connection is not built through volume or quantity of words. It is built through precision, resonance, and alignment with personal value. The high-value woman also understands the power of affirmations and subtle reinforcement in her language. Words of encouragement, recognition, or validation, when used thoughtfully, strengthen emotional bonds. She knows how to convey appreciation, admiration, or playful challenge without compromising her boundaries or energy. Her language is a vehicle for attraction and influence because it communicates both warmth and self-possession. She avoids language that is reactive, needy, or manipulative, knowing that these patterns repel rather than draw people in. Emotional connection is cultivated, not coerced, and words are the most direct and subtle means of achieving this balance. Humor, curiosity, and subtle intrigue are also powerful components of language that foster connection. The high-value woman incorporates lightness and playfulness into her speech, creating emotional resonance without lowering her power. She understands that laughter, gentle teasing, and shared curiosity build bonds more effectively than pressure or demand. Words become an art of engagement, allowing others to feel seen, entertained, and understood while maintaining the subtle tension and attraction that define high-value interaction. Her language draws people in, creating desire, interest, and emotional involvement without overexposure or desperation. Finally, high-value communication requires awareness of the long-term impact of words. Every interaction leaves an imprint. Words spoken without alignment to your worth or presence can create distance, erode trust, or signal neediness. Words spoken with intention, clarity, and emotional resonance strengthen bonds, foster loyalty, and create magnetic presence. Emotional connection is not a result of effort or compromise. It is the natural consequence of communication rooted in self-respect, conscious intention, and mastery of energy. The high-value woman knows that the language she chooses is not just a reflection of thought, but a reflection of herself, and she wields it with precision, awareness, and alignment to create influence, attraction, and enduring emotional connection.